Hey everyone, welcome back to DemDMs. My name is Matt.
I'm Panda Ghost.
I'm Box Ghost.
Today we're going to be reviewing the most recent UA from Wizards of the Coast for the Expert classes. So if everybody's ready, let's slide on in.
All right, we starting from the top, starting with Bard.
I think that'd be a wise idea.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to note, they did put out some information about how to use this UA in comparison with the last UA. Basically, the newest UA covers the old UA. So if there's a rule in here that was also in the old UA, the one in here is the supersedes it. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind as we're going forward here.
Also, thing to keep in mind.
Looking at the Bard. Yes.
If you agree with us, if you don't agree with us, whatever your thoughts are, be sure to do the survey for Wotc. Let them know what you think about it, and also if you feel so inclined, let us know what you think in the comments too.
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to hear from you and get some feedback on anything that we say, as well as your thoughts on it in general. But the feedback survey is definitely going to be a little bit more useful overall. So be sure to do that, like you said. But yeah, so swinging into the Bard here. Now, I don't think you guys have played many Bards in the current 5th edition rule set. So I have played a Bard once. This would be a College of Valor Bard. But basically, just to kind of go through it here a little bit, one of the biggest changes is the spellcasting feature of the Bard, where now instead of kind of a spells known and having to stick to that choice, or at least until a new level, you now get to prepare your spells.
Like a cleric?
And, from this, like a cleric. So, like, the idea is that many players who were dealing with the spells known element of both the Bard and other magical classes were having an issue where they were mainly having to choose combat spells because they're spellcasters and they want to be useful in combat. Makes sense. But that would leave them to not being able to take as many of the cool utility spells outside of combat, so they're allowing them to do in this UA prepared spells to kind of let them choose each day what they want to do, which I think is fine, especially for the Bard. It's not really, in my mind, inherent, that you need to have chosen your spells as it would be for maybe something like the Sorcerer, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm interested to see what they do there, but that's further down the line. And this kind of change to prepared spellcasting is also going to be present in the Ranger, which is something new as well. But continuing forward here, I mean, a lot of the kind of beginning stuff is the same. One thing that's interesting that I don't think they noted in the videos that they released was that they have a actual starting equipment where it's completely spelled out for you. There are no choices aside from the musical instrument in the Bard's case, but they all are meant to equal this 100 gold piece
150, I thought.
I think so. I believe it's 100 because it says if you forgo it, you get 100 gold pieces to start on your equipment. Yeah. I think maybe where you're getting confused is I think the 50 comes from the background then later on. So maybe that total is
you get 100 GP.
Yeah. And then it gives some ideas of multi-classing into Bard, which is good. I'm interested to see if they come up with a more comprehensive multi-classing feature, once all of the classes are out, whatever kind of list they want to come up with. But this is good just to start off with.
It looks like it's about the same what's already in for...
Correct, yeah. And I think what's interesting is, and we'll get into this, is how subclasses progress. That they're trying to kind of make that a little bit more uniform, at least in this grouping. It's shown that way.
Yeah.
To kind of simplify that process and make it apparent to people that are multi-classing. Okay, if I'm dipping into Bard, I know that I need to get to at least 3rd level to get my feature, rather than it being different for each class. Which
yeah, I
we'll
do
see
like that. I
mean,
personally like that, but that's just me.
Well, also,
Yeah,
I like how they, speaking of multi-classing, they actually have the multi-classing rules in the class rules for each class. That's nice.
Yeah, I think we'll see maybe some difference with that once we get outside of the expert classes, just because of how like clerics and sorcerers work. I don't know how they're gonna tie that in, but we'll see.
Yeah.
As a whole, I like how the expert grouping all get expertise now. Like, I know Bard obviously got expertise already, but it gets that second hit of expertise, which I like. And Ranger just gets expertise now, which it didn't before.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty great. So I like, so just based off the Bard, the Rogue, and the Ranger with the expertise class group, I like what I'm seeing with this class grouping stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I think it's really interesting because it makes sense. I mean, these are characters that are a little bit more, if you think about it, heavy in their use of skills as opposed to other classes, maybe. Especially like more stealthy in the case of the Ranger and the Rogue. But the Bard getting expertise and things that would make sense, like knowledges and things like that. Definitely kind of a little bit more reminiscent of the class skills in 3.5 and earlier editions, where it was kind of based off of your class, what skills you were able to be proficient in that terminology. But moving on here, the first level of the Bard gives you Bardic Inspiration. No change there, really, aside from kind of how this works, which is basically every time Bardic Inspiration is now a reaction ability. Okay, so what that means is whenever one of your allies rolls a D20 test, okay, this would be anything from a attack, a save, or a skill. In this case, you can use your reaction to give the Bardic Inspiration die to that creature if they had failed. Okay. And that number could be used to, exceed the threshold of the DC. I like this because, for the very reason that they kind of detail out in the video corresponding with the Bard, was that, it makes it so you don't have to like calculate in your head, is this even going to make an impact? Right? Like, you already know that they failed, right? And so that way it's kind of like, okay, maybe it doesn't do it, but maybe it does. And, it's not going to change it if it doesn't work, right? But it has the chance to do something. Whereas, before you would give it to somebody and they would use it on a skill where they might already have a 25 and they're like, okay, well, I'm going to use my Bardic Inspiration die anyway because I have to use it before I see if I fail. And now I'm at 32 and it's like, cool, the DC was 15. You know what I mean? Like, it seems more, selective in that case, which is really interesting. And now they also give the Bard the ability to heal with their Bardic Inspiration die.
That's what I saw first. I'm like, oh, that's a really cool addition.
Yeah, I think, Bards, especially Bards having, healing word and things like that, they kind of tend to be, a really lower level healer in some aspects.
Like a sub healer almost.
Yeah, and I like giving them this utility to kind of perpetuate that. And I think it works really well. I think it's a really interesting idea. So yeah, really interesting. Same as before, you get a certain number of uses of it based off of your proficiency bonus, and your die increases as you grow up in levels. So that's all the same. But I really like the change to reaction and the kind of the introduction of heal, right? As well as, it's interesting because, and I don't recall this off the top of my head, but I don't recall the base Bard, being able to augment a character's attack with Bardic Inspiration right off the bat. Is that true or not?
I don't think so. You needed a certain feature. I don't remember if it was a class feature or a subclass feature.
I thought it might have been the Valor Bard. Is
Yeah,
that
I think
true?
it was the Valor Bard.
Yeah, so it's
Someone
just
correct us
interesting.
in the comments down below.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, I've played a bard maybe once, and the guys obviously less. So it'd just be nice to get some clarification there.
Yep.
That does seem interesting that it's all D20 tests, but definitely useful. Yeah, and we already talked about the spellcasting and the expertise, and some of the other features are very similar to the old way of doing things. With kind of going along in the bard here, we see the change for feats right now, that the ability score improvement is now a feat, which is really just rewording. It really doesn't make a difference there. And then obviously with each of these classes, they are giving a retooling of the kind of what you would consider the core subclass, right? Like the class that's the most intrinsic of that character class. And obviously they reworked the College of Lore Bard here, which I think it just uses a lot more of your bardic inspiration as like the core feature, and kind of just improves upon that and gives you extra utility with it. And I think that's wonderful. That's what I want for all of these classes, right? Something we'll probably get to more when we talk about the Ranger. But yeah, I just think I like the idea of getting to use that for different things, right? That's what the bard should be flavoring themselves by, right? But that's pretty much the bard. I mean, the main things. There's some other smaller changes. I mean, let us know what you were most excited about the bard from the changes that they made. But those are the ones that I think.
There's just one one change that kind of bothered me a little bit. The Jack of all trades got pushed to 5th level, and I know there were some builds out there that would take a 2-level dip into bard to get that. So you don't get that now, unfortunately, at 2nd level.
Sure, but you're getting expertise.
Right, right. But no, I'm just saying, for like the ultra skill monkey class that wanted to get that, well, now you get more expertise. So yeah, you could do some crazy expertise skill monkey builds now. So
yeah. But okay, I think we're going to move forward to the Ranger here, and I think I'm most excited to hear what Panda Ghost thinks on this class, because you just got done running a 1st to 20th level Ranger. So obviously you're probably more knowledgeable than the most of us what has changed here, and I think it's a lot.
Yeah, well, so first up, we get 1st level spellcasting, which is nice, and cantrips. Which is
and expertise, as we mentioned,
and expertise, which is all nice, right? It again, it seems like shout out to our fixing 5e Ranger video, where I kind of go on a tangent about how I feel like they've been leaning more into this druid light, and this feels even more druid light, as opposed to
giving them more spellcasting.
Which I'm not a fan of it being druid light. If you like, let it have its own identity, right?
Sure.
But yeah, I like getting expertise as a ranger. I don't understand why they're calling it favored enemy anymore. It's not favored enemy anymore. Don't call it favored enemy anymore. It's just you get Hunter's Mark as a at will ability. But I think you still have to.
They should just call it favored foe, like they do in Thasha's.
Yeah, it's just favored foe. Is all it is.
But with honestly, I don't see why they couldn't just do. I don't see why they couldn't just do something where you have the Hunter's Mark is targeting a favored enemy that you have. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same ability. You're just targeting a specific type of creature. The fact that you're now choosing who that is at a random time is not the original idea of favorite enemy.
The way I like it is the favorite enemy, like, I think this is how we do it. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but our idea was, or my ideal way of doing it is, you can cast Hunter's Mark as a spell if it's not your favorite enemy. If it is your favorite enemy, you get it for free.
Yeah.
I don't know why they couldn't have done that.
Yeah, I also don't like the wording of now you don't have to concentrate on it, because now you could literally do that to everybody in the battlefield, no matter, regardless of what they
Doesn't
are, who
Hunter's
they are.
Mark say that you can only target one creature at a time with it?
Okay. Maybe, I don't recall off the top of my head, but it's also concentration, so why can't you just recast it and cast it on multiple people?
Yeah, I guess you could.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
Well, yeah.
that's
The
one.
point is that you can constantly flip targets with it now, which is like beyond bizarre.
Well, you don't even have to flip targets. You can have the same person up because you're not concentrating. So I can cast this spell if I wanted to, like each round, and have each of those people now under my Hunter's Mark ability. You're wasting your bonus action on each turn, but you could do it based off.
Yeah, but exactly. You're wasting your bonus action, which could be done, which you could be using for better things than Hunter's Mark.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, it just seems like they stumbled a little bit there, in my opinion.
Yeah. They're really leaning into the bow usage now. Like they've totally forsaken any kind of strength based or melee based ranger. Just kind of dumb.
Yeah, I mean, with the fact that your multi-attack is now only Conjure Barrage.
And Conjure Barrage sucks. It's a cone, and it's 3d8. Like, and it has to be a non... So, like, the whole nice thing about Volley, right? And we're skipping ahead to the subclass stuff here a little bit. But the whole point of having Volley or Whirlwind Strike is that you are using your weapon to do the thing, right? So, like, if you have a +2 bow, or 20 +2 arrows, and there's 20 targets in your thing, you can use a +2 arrow on every single target in that vicinity with Volley. Now you can't. Now you have to do this weird split leveling where, like, you have to focus on Dex, but you also have to focus on Wisdom, because now your barrage isn't going to hit as likely as it would if you're using a weapon and you focused on Dex. It's not good. Anyone that's saying that this is an improvement over Ranger is wrong. Yes, it is slightly better, but overall, it's still shit.
Yeah. Well, I will say, like, the Hunter's Prey feature, I feel like you could have made that the Hunter's Mark, right? Like, you could have gotten maybe a Hunter's Mark based off of your favorite enemy, and then Hunter's Prey would be, the anybody you choose, right? And then build off of Hunter's Mark maybe more so in this subclass. I understand what they did with Hunter's Lore. I actually kind of like that ability. And I think what it's doing is kind of what we talked about in our Ranger video that we did, the 15-5e Ranger, where it seems like a lot of the classes have some sort of core ability that then their subclasses can expand upon and give new utility to.
Yeah.
And Ranger was always kind of the one that just never had that. It was kind of like, we're just going to pick a bunch of random things and hope it makes a class, to be honest.
And they still failed. It's still bad. Especially, Hunter's Lore, it does nothing for you. It does nothing for you that you wouldn't figure out by just fighting something.
Well, it's taking the kind of like the knowledge based portion of the current favorite enemy and moving it to, instead of being a first level attribute of your favorite enemy, a sixth level attribute of being a hunter ranger, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
My point is just like, oh, I don't know if that thing is immune to slashing damage. I'm gonna go slash it. Oh, it didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it seems like
it's dumb, and it does. You don't really get much benefit from it, right? Yeah. Especially as a 6th level, like, it's just like, come on, dude.
Yeah, it seems like they're intention with all of this was to make the ranger like they hunt everything, even people, and so they know everything about every single creature under the sun.
Yeah, it's
which
and then
seems weird.
and also, why is 14th called Superior Hunter's Defense when it has no regular Hunter's Defense?
Well, it's the
and why even call it that when
dodge,
it's just Uncanny Dodge? It's just Uncanny Dodge.
Well, it's not though, because you can also then redirect half the damage to another creature.
Sure.
That's the difference between it. That's why they're getting away, not calling it an Uncanny Dodge. But yes, effectively, it's about the same.
Yeah, why not? But like, they should just like now you like Hunter had one of the best abilities. The old Hunter had one of the best abilities, which was multi-attack defense. Don't even have that anymore. Like,
yeah, I think they're like moving the ball down the field, but they're nowhere near the end zone. You know what I mean?
2 steps forward and 1 step back.
Yeah.
Much.
Yeah. Like I like some of what they're trying to do, and some of it I'm like, I feel like you need to tweak this like a little bit. Like, I like the idea of giving them expertise. I think that works well with giving them like nature related skills. The tireless bit, okay, like it's useful. Like,
it is useful, but it's like how much use are you gonna get out of that? Right, and the same thing with the roving, right? Like, there's magic items that do those things.
Isn't roving just, like, expanded on favorite terrain? Pretty much.
Well, it gives you a climb speed, a swim speed, and 10 more feet of movement. Which, like, come on.
It's kind of... It
feels
lackluster. Like the wood elf. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, or the mobile feet or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, and then well, one thing I thought about here was also the 20th level epic boons.
Yes.
Do we want to save that for when we get to feats?
Yeah, we'll save that until we
I think we'll get there. Yeah. But yeah, something to know is that all classes now get a 20th level feat.
And one thing from earlier, the bard might start with 100 gold, but the ranger starts with 150.
Oh,
interesting.
So not all classes are made the same.
That's weird.
Supposed to be like that, I wonder.
Well, it makes sense. You're using better armor, better weapons than a bard's going to be. So.
Yeah. Okay. It kind of contradicts what they were trying to do with
with
the background, but.
Yep, I get you. I hear you. All right.
And a rogue is 110. Speaking of which, rogue is 110 gold starting.
Yeah, let's talk about the rogue.
Okay.
My blood pressure's too high.
Yeah,
I was just at the doctor
before you blow up. Yeah.
Okay, so just just roughly with looking at the tables, they're not all that. It's not all that different. The big thing that I noticed though is you get evasion at level 9. I'm like, bruh.
Yeah,
that's way too late to get evasion.
Certified bruh moment right there.
Now if you swapped, I think this is an easy fix. Just swap evasion with expertise, and it's fine.
Yeah, I think what happened there was the subclass feature maybe.
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Got messed up a little bit because I think they moved. Was it the ranger or the bard that they moved the 6th level feature up?
Well, the rogue they did. The rogue used to get it at 9th.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So that's what it is. They're rearranging things.
Yeah, but I mean, that's which is fine. That's not the problem I have an issue with. It's just they should have kept evasion lower than expertise.
Yeah, I think that's an easy
expertise.
Fix,
don't get me wrong, expertise is great, but evasion is more important in my opinion.
Yeah,
especially for a rogue, it keeps you alive.
But I think overall that's an easy fix, right? If all they have to do is move that, I don't think that changes power scaling at all, to be honest.
No.
No,
it keeps it the same. Actually, you get evasion currently at 7th.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. it wouldn't change much
So
at
the
all.
only thing that would be changed is evasion and the subclass feature swap
Yes.
Yeah.
compared to the
Yeah.
current one, which
Yeah.
they moved all sorts of things around.
Right.
What do you
So,
guys feel about the subtle strikes feature?
I think it's
Well, it's-
arguably better than the blind sense, considering there's
Yeah.
other ways to get
I
blind
don't
sense.
necessarily know though how useful it'll be.
I mean, you're
'Cause-
getting an advantage on any time that you would normally get sneak attack.
Right.
Basically,
So
as,
you're
as
just-
a core rogue.
Yeah. So I mean,
It's like sharpshooter,
Fine.
but for free.
yeah, it's fine. I like it. It helps.
Yeah, I mean, to be
Um,
honest with you, if I'm excited to see what assassin is because this would pair extremely well with the assassin rogue.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Unless they
Um,
totally gut it or something.
Yeah.
Well,
we'll have to
it
see.
almost makes swashbuckler obsolete, though.
Mm.
With the rack, the whole point of swashbucklers is the rakish audacity and to give you
Yeah,
sneak.
'cause-
Yeah.
Yeah, because you wouldn't get advantage
yeah.
as a swashbuckler 1v1ing somebody.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Interesting. I think
yeah.
they need to
I
see
guess
what their other
yeah.
subclasses are doing before they kind of solidify this, because I think you need to see how it works with all subclasses, not just one.
Right.
Right.
But I think the biggest changes actually came to Rogue with the subclass.
Because
Which is
thief
the
is a
thief.
class. Thief is a good class now, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's probably
thief is
better
no
than-
longer just like generic rogue. It actually, I mean, it is still generic rogue, but it actually does cool stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, fast hands, I don't think changed. So
That didn't change.
but second story work, that has a slight power increase. You can actually use your dexterity to make a jump check instead of your strength, which is really good because I can't tell you how many times I've tried jumping as a rogue and I can't.
Yeah, and you just gain a climb speed. Like,
Yeah,
you know
Yeah.
what I mean? That's crazy useful.
yeah. Well, that was in the original. So, but,
Yeah.
But the jumping is what's changed there. Supreme Sneak is better. Because now you can actually. So before you had to only move half your movement in order to get the advantage. Now it's as long as you're wearing light armor.
Yeah.
Or aren't wearing medium or heavy armor, I should say.
Yeah.
So that's great. And what's huge is the use magic device thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Like,
Dude.
well, so this brings back a lot of the utility that rogues had in 3.5.
Yep.
With
Because
the
use magic device
skill.
was a skill that pretty much only the rogue got in 3.5. Because you had to, in order to use a magic item in 3.5, like either a wand or a scroll, or not a potion, but wands and scrolls, you had to use the use magic device skill in order to use it.
Or would blow up, depending on what it was.
Right, exactly. This kind of brings that back, where now you can use scrolls again as a rogue, and that's huge.
Yeah, and let alone like the charges feature of your magic items. If you roll a d6 and you roll a 6, you don't use the charge.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome. And definitely not last but not least, the attunement of getting 4
Attunement slots. Jeez.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah,
And-
I think I'd play more thieves, honestly, then.
Yeah. Now you can have your cloak of protection and your cloak of displacement and whatever else you want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then, obviously, Thieves' Reflexes, getting a second bonus action to use Cunning Action. That's insane.
Yeah,
You
we
can
did the
dash.
math. You can dash 4 times in a turn.
Yeah.
That's 100. If you don't have any movement bonuses, that's 120 feet in one turn. That is just ridiculous.
Goodness. Yeah.
So
it's insane.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I really like what they did with the thief subclass. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's just this is kind of what we want for everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I love that they had the concept of the thief is the character who's cheating at the game, but it's still in the rules. You know what I mean? Like, that's
Exactly
awesome, right? That's an awesome way to look at it. Yeah, I think obviously Rogue was one of, if not the strongest class in 5th edition already. I think they're just taking most of the changes for the thief because thief was terrible before.
Yeah.
For
like
most
I will
of the
say,
cases.
Rogue was a pretty solid class to begin with, so they didn't really have to change much.
Yeah,
they just did the things to make it line up leveling wise with everything else.
Sure.
Classes. So actually, question.
Yes.
Do they get more ASIs like they did before? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Most classes don't get the 10th level feat, and they do right there.
Yeah.
So
and they get a subclass feature at 10th. Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. 10th is a big level for Rogue. Goodness. Except you don't get another sneak attack dice, unfortunately.
Yeah, but you get use magic device. Like,
wait, is that really 10? Is that 10 actually?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Ooh, yeah, that's a.
Yeah. I mean, that brings us right into the next portion here, which is feats.
Yep.
So let's get into it. We're gonna
before we dive too deep into feats, I do want to say layout wise, it's dumb. They shouldn't put the
they should have grouped it by
20th level feats at the end.
Yes, they just did
you're
all
going
of them
through feats and then just epic feat, epic feat, epic feat, epic feat. Why?
Yeah, they just did alphabetical. They should have level grouped them and then alphabetical in the level groups.
I'm really fired up this episode, aren't I?
Yeah, apparently.
All right, since I'm already fired up, dual wielder feat. Fuck this.
Well,
you can't. You have to be using at least one light weapon in order to dual wield now.
Yeah, when you're holding a weapon with the light property in one hand, you can treat a non-light weapon in your other hand. Yeah, so, I mean, that's how it was in 3.5.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
Oh, well, to get the maximum benefit.
Okay, to get the max benefit, yes, but you could still be at -4, and dual wield long swords.
Okay.
But no one did that because it was
I did that, damn it!
Well,
because I'm dumb.
But
you can't dual wield rapiers now either.
Yes.
Yeah, because they're not finesse. Or they're not light.
They're not light, yes.
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, they could change a whole bunch of stuff with the weapon categories. We have to see.
And I didn't see mobile feet in here. I could be just
that was in first level, wasn't it?
Oh,
was it?
Yeah.
Is that why?
I believe so.
I think you're right.
One thing that I do want to mention here, and we kind of glossed over it really quickly, but I don't know how I feel about giving every single feat an ability score increase.
I don't. Well, because they got rid of the ASIs, right?
But they didn't, though. I mean, you can still take an ASI.
Yeah, you can still take an ASI. I know. I don't like it.
Because I feel like it's like having your cake and eating it too. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the whole point of taking a feat is so that you don't. Or the whole point of not taking the ASI is so you can get something potentially better than an ASI. But now you're getting both.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's like, hey, I could have another +1 to an ability score, or I could have what a feat gives me.
Although, to be fair, in our Fixing 5e video, we kind of do this anyway, so...
Yeah, it's a interesting way of doing it, but we'll have to see, as things get progressed, how this, contributes to stuff.
Yeah, well, the problem I see is that because they give ability score improvements to every feat, that means some feats become depowered now. because now you're getting an ASI. It's like they've rewritten some feats, and now now you lose some features of those feats potentially because they now have an ASI. Like Mage Slayer no longer gets an opportunity attack when someone casts a spell in front of them.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
That
Speaking
really
as
sucks.
someone who is about to play a character with the Mage Slayer feat, it concerned me greatly. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of changes, and I want to go through them as we're kind of seeing stuff here, just because, you know, for people who are following along. But yes, epic boon feats, which is kind of like the next big section of feats here. Some of them are like really good because they're at 20th levels when you're supposed to get them, and other of them are just like what
really garbage.
Okay, but
like,
here's
who would take this?
here's the interesting thing. Like lightly armored, that doesn't give you ability score improvement. Oh, but that is a first level feat though.
Yeah. They do have some first level feats in here, like all of the fighting style options, which are now all feats.
Only for warriors, I think.
But the ranger does get access to these. The next thing that I really want to mention is kind of the good change that I was hoping for, and then they didn't do it where it made sense to do it again. So let me explain. Great Weapon Master. Okay. Your heavy weapon mastery, where if you before in 5th edition you subtracted 5 for your to hit and added 10 to the damage of a heavy weapon, is now extra damage based off of your proficiency bonus, and you deal it only once per turn. But you can do it without taking a minus to your to hit, which is, you know, fine. At least it's scaling proficiency bonus wise, right? It's going with you in level. But then when you go down to the sharpshooter feat, which I don't know if anybody was aware of this,
I
you
noticed.
no longer get that at all. There is no extra damage.
I'm fuming over here.
Over the sharpshooter feat.
Fuming over here.
Your long range doesn't impose disadvantage, which is this. Your range attacks will ignore half cover and 3/4 cover,
which is the same.
And you get within 5 feet. You do not have disadvantage on range attacks.
Yep.
But they just completely removed the bonus to damage from the sharpshooter feat,
which is BS.
And I think the only thing that they replaced it with, if I'm not mistaken, did you get an ability score improvement with the sharpshooter feat?
No, they did. Well, remember, firing into melee is not something you got from sharpshooter. For my character, that's something that you made a special feat for me to do.
Gotcha.
Which I honestly like the feat, having a separate feat for firing into melee.
Point blank shot was the feat in 3/5.
Yeah,
that let you do that.
Like especially since they're giving ASIs with every feat now, like they could have put that in a separate feat. Just saying.
Firing into melee.
Yeah.
Like I would have been fine with it had they done what they did in Great Weapon Master, which was always kind of the other side of the coin of sharpshooter. In that damage aspect, where they had it, you know, once on each of your turns, you can add your proficiency bonus to the damage, right? It would have depowered sharpshooter, sure, but you know, a lot of the comments that I'm seeing online from different people was just mainly like that, you know, even though you didn't hit that often with it at first level, when you did, it's basically giving you a critical, right?
Right.
So I like the idea of maybe tying it to the proficiency bonus, but they didn't even do that. They just said nope.
Right.
Sorry, not happen. But you know,
going back up, I know we jumped down.
We jumped around a little bit there. Yeah, sorry.
They screwed over Polearm Master. Now it has to be a heavy reach weapon. So you can't use spears, you can't use quarterstaffs.
So they reverted that. Okay.
Yeah, it's just garbage now. You can only use it with halberds, glaives, and pikes.
Yeah. Yeah, what's interesting, just kind of, looking through some of these feats, they are connecting a lot of these to proficiency bonus. A lot of things that were just general like modifiers or something like that are now getting proficiency bonus. Like heavy armor master, the damage reduction is now based off your proficiency bonus rather than just a flat -3. Right.
Which that is one improvement. Is the heavy armor master is better now because it can reduce any kind of bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage. Before it was only limited to non-magical, so now it reduces magical, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean that would pair. Maybe it wouldn't. I was gonna say it would pair well with like certain barbarians, but I don't think that's actually true because the barbarians would want to be unarmored.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
But like going to something that's going to become a big thing later on, Keen Mind, gives you the ability to take what is called a study action in combat, right? It's a new type of action, something that was not in 5th edition before. And we will get to that shortly, but there are a lot of new terminologies and updates to rules that we're going to kind of get into here as we move along. We just wanted to kind of get through the bulk of the feats, try to hit the high, the big ticket items, and keep moving here.
Skulker got a hit. Yeah, I just realized.
Observant got a hit.
Skulker got better. Observant took a hit.
Yeah. Observant is different. I don't think it necessarily got a hit. Basically, you choose either insight, investigation, or perception, and you gain proficiency if you don't already have it. If you do, you gain expertise, right? And you can search as a bonus action. But what's interesting, and I'm interested to see where we go with this, I'm not seeing a lot of references to passives.
Yeah.
Which is interesting and, a different change. I don't necessarily hate the idea of getting rid of passives.
Nope.
Why? Because of what I did to you?
Well, most people barely use them anyway, I think.
Yeah, I feel like I would rather have someone roll, and if they have an awesome modifier, they'll probably get whatever they're trying to get, right? It's just, passives is kind of like, no chance of failure, right? It kind of is exactly what the rogues feature is, where they can take a 10 if it's anything less than that and just add their, bonuses to it. This, at least, you're giving somebody proficiency in a skill that they don't already have, or giving them further expertise that they might not already have, right? And that, while yes, powerful on a roll, is still a chance of failure. Whereas if you get high enough with your passives, there was, Fox Ghost had a passive of 35 for sight-based things. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, in a certain aspect, if you build your character to that, you should be able to use it. But if there's at least a roll associated, I feel better about it than just giving it to you, right? And depending on how high somebody has of a modifier, you just maybe don't need to ask for all those rolls, right, all the time. But yeah, interesting stuff. I'm not seeing like one. I think we picked on the ones that I think were the most
egregious.
Most changing to a lot of the ways that people play characters now.
Two things that I want to note out, though, is Speedster is just the ability that the Rangers got when traversing terrain. I forget the name of the ability. So they removed something Ranger and made it a feat.
Landstride, I believe.
Yeah, which is, again, irks me. And then Spell Sniper is definitely better. It adds the casting in melee.
At least that's comparable to Sharpshooter. It's literally Sharpshooter, but with spells.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
But then, I don't know why they did this flat 60 feet range increase. Double it. Just double it. And then they have this, 10-foot requirement because they're trying to say F you to anyone trying to use any of the blade spells, which, fuck you, wizards. Let me use the blade spells on a polearm, damn it.
Yeah. That's an interesting
Booming
case
blade, green flame blade, for
Yes.
those who are unaware.
there.
Anyway, damn it, my blood pressure's spiking again.
Yeah, I mean, going through, they added the list of spells. I mean, there's some changes there. We're going to get to the highlights in a minute when we get to the rules glossary. I didn't really pay terribly too much attention. I think there's been some instances of like certain schools of magic changing, but that has really no impact aside from if you're a wizard.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to spend that much time there. You know, look through it on your own time. Let us know if there's anything like really strange that we're missing, but I feel like we're going to just move right along here. Okay, to the rules glossary. All right.
Yes.
I like how a lot of their fixes for some of the stuff that they proposed in the first one was just don't do that. Right? Like, you know, the critical hits. Just ignore what we said last time because we were wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, it was one of the big things, right? A lot of people had issues with how those were being handled, and, you know, it makes sense to just let it go, right? Bark skin. I like it. I think it's a lot more useful than it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're giving someone temporary HP that then recharges. That's awesome. Right? It's basically a lesser version of the Abjuration Wizard's Ward ability, Arcane Ward,
Mm-hmm.
which is awesome. You know, I think it also helps when, like, you know, a lot of spells like Mage Armor and things like that are really useful for people that don't wear armor and nobody else, right? Which is very few people in the game. And so this would still help those people, which is great, right? They changed D20 tests and kind of what their original idea of inspiration, how that was being gifted. Now it's on a natural 1 instead of a natural 20, and natural 20s and natural 1s are not automatic fails and automatic successes. There's a little thing here that I just want to mention. They finally added something to differentiate, to clarify heroic inspiration now and bardic inspiration, which I've been asking for a while, so that's great.
Yes, that helps clarify things.
Yeah, a little bit. It's the small touch that I appreciate. Yeah, I mean, exhaustion is a little bit different. Now it's you're just flat, depending on whatever your exhausted level is, you reduce your D20 test by that number, just flat. So before, it used to be at level 1 you have disadvantage on ability checks, at level 2 you had disadvantage on ability checks, attacks, and I believe saving throws.
Yeah.
And it slowly increased till eventually you just die. And here you can die from it, but it's just from the start, you're just taking whatever level of exhaustion number you have and subtracting it from whatever D20 you roll.
Yeah, it's simpler, not necessarily better, but it's simpler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's adding a little bit more math back into things.
Sure, but I mean, you know,
less things to keep track of, though.
Yeah.
It's less hey, what level
am
I at? You know?
Yeah, I take this over what it is now because I can never remember the levels of exhaustion.
Yeah.
I'm really glad they added in a clarification for attitude and influence responses. You know, so now, you know, it kind of, you know, I feel like...
Well, they added the whole influence action, too, which is...
Yeah, but, like, the whole bard seduces everything to get his way kind of, yeah, they're giving you an out as a DM to be like, no, they can't really do that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they gave some description of that, I remember, in the player's handbook maybe, but it wasn't as fleshed out as this. And
Yeah, because you had to succeed a DC to change it. Like, if you failed the DC by this much, you would influence them one, you get the negative response. If you succeeded by a certain amount, you would get a better response. So, it was in there, but I think this makes it a little more clear. Also,
Let
it's
me
right
ask you-
there in the rules. So,
Yeah. Let me ask you this: how do you guys feel about the changes to the guidance spell?
I did not see the change to the guidance spell.
So now, per the rules, it is a reaction that you take in response to an ally within 30 feet of you failing an ability check. And the creature, if you cast it on somebody, that same person cannot benefit from the guidance spell again until they finish a long rest.
Oh,
So you can't just
I forget what level.
spam guidance the entire time.
I was gonna say what level is the
It's
guidance?
a cantrip.
Is it
It's always
cantrip?
been a
Yeah, that's
cantrip.
what I thought. Yeah, that's I kind of like that because I rarely have ever used guidance, and I've played several clerics.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen
Like,
it
I always
used
take
where
it.
it's just,
Like, I
yeah.
always take it, but I never use it because it requires a full action.
Yeah, I've seen it used as a kind of spam bless, basically a lesser version of bless that you can just do to everybody whenever you want, all the time, every time, to the point where like a lot of people just roll a skill check and automatically roll a d4 because they have a cleric in a party who's going to cast guidance on them. This is something we see very regularly on Critical Role for any of their clerics. But yeah,
I like this change to it.
yeah, I think it limits the fact that it's a cantrip, guys. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't be, you know, crazy beneficial. Which, you have the aid spell, which is, similar,
Mm-hmm.
and it's only a level above. You know what I mean? Like, it's, I don't know.
Yeah,
At least that gives.
I think it honestly. I think it makes guidance have a little more utility because now
Yeah,
you can
I
use
mean,
your reaction for it. So
yeah, it is. It's essentially it is a lesser version of Bardic
right.
Inspiration. That's what it is. And it's something that you can then give to divine casters instead of arcane casters like the bard. But yeah. And then one other thing that kind of I feel like I don't recall the exact wording of the original rule from the 2014 Player's Handbook. Um, was the help action always that you had to have proficiency in order to be able to help somebody with the help action?
I don't think so.
Okay. I don't know if that's something that I've always held people to, to be honest with you, but nice to know. I just if that didn't change, it's fine. I just
Oh, you're
for
talking.
me,
I'm sorry.
I've had it.
You're talking assisting in an ability check.
Yeah, you had to have
Sorry.
proficiency in the chosen skill that you are trying to help somebody with.
Yeah, I actually don't know.
I mean, it makes sense. If
Yeah, it
it
makes
wasn't
sense.
that way, it should have been from the start.
Yeah, I mean,
Something
do you
tells me
need to
it
be proficient?
probably was.
Yeah, but do you need to be proficient in athletics to help somebody climb? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that gets a little awkward. But I understand where it is for like certain things, like for like the knowledge based or the intelligence based skills. It makes sense. Like, oh, you have
Actually,
to be someone that's trained in this to actually help them. You know what I mean? But
no,
yeah,
you did not need proficiency in the skill.
yeah. So that's changed, but I
Well,
don't
it
think
says
it's a
ability. It actually says ability check. So, and that would obviously be used for a skill because the skill is technically an ability check.
yeah.
So yeah, interesting.
One other thing that I like and have noticed is a little strange is the search skill is better described, right?
Yep.
The different type
Yep.
of skills that you use for what you want to detect. But I've noticed that there is a missing investigation skill from the list there.
Mm. Well, those are all wisdom based skills, no? Or is medicine
Mm,
intelligence?
I think it is all wisdom based. Yeah, medicine's wisdom based, I believe. Very interesting.
But something that we cannot gloss over by any means is what they did to the light weapon, and how two weapon fighting works normally, which is anytime you are wielding 2 light weapons, your offhand weapon is now part of your attack action, not a bonus action. So if I use the attack action with 2 light weapons, I can make 2 attacks. Albeit the second one does not have my strength or dexterity.
So it's more like
right?
the 3.5 attacking with 2 weapons.
Yes.
Essentially. I think this is a good change because I think it allows the use of the bonus action for things other than this.
Yeah.
Especially for like, what's the class that benefits from dual wielding the most? The rogue. What class has the most use of their bonus action?
The rogue.
The rogue.
Right.
So
there's a lot of times where it's like, oh hey, I could either use my bonus action to attack again or do something else. So
yeah.
So hold on.
Yes.
I'm rereading something. Okay, I was just making sure. I was seeing if there was now a loophole to get around only 1 sneak attack per turn. Nope, that is not the case. You still only get 1 sneak attack a turn, even if you attack with 2 weapons.
Alright, Future Panda here. After taking a closer look at the wording to sneak attack, rogues can no longer sneak attack on someone else's turn with the addition of your before the word turn, which makes a huge difference that you can no longer sneak attack on opportunity attacks. This will decrease the power of rogues, even if slightly, and as such, we do not like this change. Anyway, back to the video.
It definitely helps with the rogues use 2-weapon fighting a lot more.
Yeah.
It helps them utilize their action economy.
Yeah, I think it kind of begs the question then, why would you ever take a single-handed weapon? But
or why would you ever use a greatsword for that matter?
Yeah, I mean, well, let me say this. I mean, yes, more so the greatsword. Something that I don't think we mentioned when we were referencing dual wielder. You don't get any bonus to your AC from it.
Shit.
Anymore.
You did?
Yeah.
You got a +1 to your AC when you were when you had your both weapons out.
Oh, I thought that was a fighting style for some reason.
No, fighting style.
Oh, no, I know what you're. I forget what I just said.
Yeah, but I know why they took it out, and the reason is because they put an ability score increase where you can increase your dexterity score by 1, which would potentially do effectually the same thing.
Yeah.
Why do you feel that they made a point of saying in this that the short sword is now a simple weapon?
I don't know, and it shouldn't be.
It's curious because if they're making weapon changes, why aren't there other weapon changes in here? Was the short sword mentioned somewhere that was like important? Like, you know what I mean? Like, was it given as an example?
I mean, it's a very common offhand weapon.
Maybe.
I think it was used in an example in a couple different places. One of which being the well, it was mentioned in the equipment, starting equipment, and then it was mentioned in dual wielder, I think, as an example, with the dual wielder feat as an example.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah,
it just struck out of me.
Yeah,
like
that's so weird.
But yeah, I mean, is there anything else that you guys wanted to go over before we wrap this one up here?
No, I think we're good.
Yeah, I'm fine. I think that covers pretty much everything I wanted to talk about.
All right. Well, just be sure to kind of look at our other Fixing 5e videos that we've done. Obviously we did one for the Ranger, which I think maybe will give you some different ideas of how the Ranger could work. Check out our video from the last UA. Make sure you leave a comment and a like on this video. And be sure to subscribe as well as sneak attacking that notification bell to be notified when another one of these videos with UA stuff comes out. But until then, join us next time we slide into DemDMs. Alright guys, bye.
Peace.